Hi everyone and welcome to the show. It's Trevor Stockwell with you today, and I'm joined by my guest Angela, who's a psychotherapist helping entrepreneurs and young adults with anxiety disorders and stress-related issues. Angela runs her own practice in Boston, but has a reach much wider because she's designed an online course and app, which helps those with significant stress and who struggle to find ways of coping and managing their emotions. She's also written multiple online sites as well as being a radio guest, and she's here on the podcast to share some practical steps that we can all implement to manage stress better. So welcome, Angela Ficken.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have the opportunity to chat with you. It's not every day I chat to a psychotherapist, which I guess is actually a good thing.
That might be a good thing, but also can be really helpful. It's however you want to look at it. So yes, that's...
Yeah, maybe I need to chat to one more often than what I do. I don't know, maybe. But maybe just before we dig into some of the strategies about managing stress, share a little bit about your background and your journey to get to where, first of all, you then opened your practice, but then you've gone sort of global, really.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. I'm sure every business owner can attest to that. What is ever a direct, smooth path? But I started my career at McLean Hospital, which is one of the country's leading psychiatric hospitals. So there I was a social worker on an inpatient unit working with adults who struggle with significant anxiety and depression. So a locked unit where kind of safety was a concern. And it was there that I witnessed firsthand how significant and severe these emotions can be for people, and really wanting to know the best therapy modalities out there that can help treat anxiety and depression. And so it was my first kind of go in my career that I got trained in my tenure there, cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy, so CBT and DBT. I won't go into the weeds with those, but trust me when I say, if you've got stress and anxiety, these are gold standard therapies that you're going to want to learn. And then through my time at McLean, I left and was a primary therapist at Harvard University, which maybe you've heard of that place, and was a primary therapist for undergrad and graduate students there, and really saw a pressure cooker of an environment where lots of kids would walk around thinking everybody looked fine, so they must be fine, but they weren't. And I think there was 40 clinicians, and we saw on average like 27,000 visits an academic year. I mean, we were busy. So people can look like they have it all going on, but inside it's a hot mess. And the skills that I had training in were really helping students learn different strategies to manage really hard emotions, fear of failure, failing, and managing stress way more effectively. So what once used to stress them out no longer did, and kind of move through their academic career with more ease. And then after my time at Harvard, I kind of decided to jump in full speed to a private practice. And I thought, all right, I've always wanted to do this. Let me do it. And my husband kind of pushed me to do it. He's like, you got to pick one, because I was doing a private practice on the side and working at Harvard and burning the candle at both ends. But I decided to take the plunge, and it was there that I thought my journey would end. I hung up my shingle, that was my dream, call it a day. But what I found was that my reach in Boston casted a wider net, not just with students, but people in financial world, lawyers, residents in all the hospitals that are in Boston, people in high stress kind of jobs were seeking me out to learn strategies on how do I manage this stress that isn't going to go anywhere. And the skill set I had was really helping them. And I thought, okay, if this is helping you, is there a way that I can give back to people that aren't able to find me in Boston, that can't come see me, no matter where you are? Can I give you these strategies? And that's when I decided to kind of jump into the entrepreneur world of writing newsletters and then finally creating this course. So that's my kind of journey, my long-winded spiel of kind of how I went from this like wee little social worker at McLean Hospital to kind of being in my own business.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I always ask guests at the start to share a little bit about their journey because I think it's fascinating. It's like, because we can look back and see it, but at the time we're just navigating different things, different challenges. We don't see the bigger picture, but then we stop at any point and look back. Sometimes things become a lot clearer as to, oh, that's why that happened, and wasn't it really good that we did this and we avoided that? So no, it's always interesting. And it shows how you've developed and sort of honed your skills over the years with, hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of experience, helping lots of people. And now you're at the point where you can go, or have been going, global really through the course. So that's really good. We'll dig into the course a little bit in a bit, because I'm interested to find out a little bit more about that. But maybe to start with, for everyone that's listening thinking, yep, I get a lot of stress, not sure that I manage it well, or yeah, I'm really good at giving the appearance that I've got everything together, but inside I know actually I do need to make some sort of change, because I know, there's a cliff edge that I'm rapidly approaching and I want to avoid it. What would be some of the sort of the everyday stresses of an entrepreneur, of a business owner? What would be some of the practical things that they can put into place that helps to manage the levels of stress, how they sort of perceive stress, and sort of minimize the negative effects of it? Bit of a long question, but
yeah, no, it's all true, because being an entrepreneur, you're in an inherently stressful job. So on some level, most of us thrive in a certain amount of stress. Otherwise, this job wouldn't call to us. But often what comes with the job is a level of uncertainty. And that can be where a lot of stress breeds, right? How will this launch go? What's this month's income going to be? Certain doubts of what ifs. What if this doesn't go according to plan? What if I have to do layoffs? What if this person doesn't want this job that I need them for? It can be lots of things.
Yeah.
So what I tend to start with, if you're experiencing stress, or you feel like, you look like you have it together, but inside you're kind of feeling a bit shaky, is thinking about slivers, not chunks. And that means like, you don't have to move a mountain to feel better, and feel better actually relatively quickly. So first thing is, I tend to ask people who come to see me, what's your schedule like? Is it all over the place? Do you have some structure, even though things might be uncertain? Is there some predictability? And when we look at what's predictable, or what we have some control over, that actually helps us manage the uncertainty of stress. So sometimes people will reorganize their schedules. They'll put in things that they can predict, things that they can look forward to, so that they know that even though I don't know how this launch is going to go, I know that I've got this weekly meeting with my mentor. I know that I am engaging in these different types of self-care. I know that if it doesn't go well, I'm working on kind of a plan B. So there's some certainty within the uncertain, if that makes sense. And really looking at what's your schedule. And then the other is that you don't have to move mountains to feel better. So oftentimes people will say, well, I would really like to go to the gym, but that means I have to go 5 days a week. And if I can't go 5 days a week, then, I make myself feel bad and I don't go at all. It's like, okay, well, forget the gym. What about walking around the block? And that if you just tend to yourself in these slivers, it actually increases and refuels your well-being tank, so that you actually have more to give to your relationships, to yourself, to your work. So it really is about these small movements you can do that actually give you the most bang for your buck, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I like that. And it's in a lot of ways, it's a collection of small activities that then compound over time, isn't it? That then you get to see the benefit afterwards. And it's also, I like the way you put it, because it's the first step that we need to take. If we think, actually, yeah, I need to do too much, I'm not going to start, or it becomes another source of overwhelm, then it's counterproductive. But if it's just like, yeah, actually, I can do that, and then I can maybe build up and maybe walk around 2 blocks and gradually extend the activity that we're doing. Yeah, I like that. That's really good. Manageable slivers, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I mean, for me, I used to be a runner. I used to run all the time. I would do races. I loved it. And for the longest time after having my daughter, I stopped running, and I really wanted to try to get back into it. And I would kick myself for not doing it the way that I used to. The routine I had set up, it just like fell flat. I just wasn't doing it. And I would make myself feel so bad for not running. Oh, I should do it. I know it makes me feel better. And I just wasn't doing it. I even tried running 1 day a week, could not make that happen. I think I did it for 3 weeks and it fell flat. So what has stuck is, instead of looking at like, I need to go back to something that used to work, I've tweaked it where now I go for afternoon walks, right? And that can be with my daughter if she wants to come. If she doesn't, see you later, I'm going. And right after I talk to you, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go out, take a walk. It's probably going to be less than 20 minutes, but doing that helps me feel refueled. And it's not running, but it is something. And that is good enough, which I think for a lot of people in the business world and entrepreneurs, good enough doesn't really settle well with us. It has to be perfect. But I think the good enough is a really nice place to be. So that's just an example of how it's worked for me.
Yeah. As I'm listening to you, I'm sort of realizing more. A lot of the times we add to our own stress by having the wrong expectations of ourselves, don't we? I think it's different if you've got other people in your world that have wrong expectations of you. But because we're with ourselves all the time, if we don't get that balance, or if we're too hard on ourselves, then we just make the whole thing worse, don't we?
Yes, we can light the match.
Yeah. It is a bit like having the flexibility of, I like when I chat to you because I get inspired and I start thinking about things. But it's like not trying to fit what worked before into the future. It's like a chapter of a book is a chapter for a reason. It gets you to the next chapter, and whatever the next chapter holds is going to be different. Otherwise it would be the same chapter, the extended kind of thing. That makes perfect sense to me. I'm not sure if everyone listening is scratching their heads or whatever, but I like the way you put it, that it's having that flexibility of, I'm going to try something new, and I don't have to serve what worked in the past. What was successful in my business at the past, maybe it isn't going to work and be successful in the future. So we need to be fluid with our expectations to some extent. I really like that. I think that's really helpful. Hopefully people listening to that go, yeah, okay, light bulb moment. Tomorrow's going to be better because of that. Hopefully people are listening, taking notes like that. Let's chat a little bit about emotions as well, because like the way we think determines our emotions, how we feel, doesn't it? So would you say most of the issues or the problems that we have with stress and anxiety stem from us just having the wrong mindset, or allowing the wrong thoughts, to dwelling on the wrong thoughts too much, or is it wider than that?
Well, it's a combination, but definitely our thoughts take the cake with what trips us up, and I often say, like, gets us down the rabbit hole, right? So our thoughts, you're spot on. Our thoughts influence our mood, and our mood influences our behavior, and then our behavior kind of catapults us to increasing our thoughts. So if I'm stressed out and anxious, I'm not usually a betting person, but I'd bet, a lot of money, my thoughts are going to be stressed and anxious. And when we're in hard emotions like anger, frustration, stress, anxiety, rarely are our thoughts giving us an accurate picture of what is. It's kind of saturated in some distortion. And if we can change our perspective, we can't change the trigger, we can't change the situation that's kind of blown up. But if we shift our perspective and kind of, like I say, come around the mountain and see it from a different view, we can start to feel better and think better about something that, again, the problem hasn't changed, but our viewpoint can. So our thoughts definitely impact our mood, and certainly impact how we think about stress and move through it.
Yeah. Do you have any sort of hacks or habits that you use that catch you? Because I'm guessing, although you're an expert, you're also a human being. So
That is correct.
potentially you are susceptible, business pressures, family pressures, life pressures. Anything that you isn't too personal, you'd be happy to share that just helps keep you every now and again, pulls you back to where you want to be, sort of emotionally or in the way that you think about things.
Yeah, I am an expert, and I'm not immune to stress and anxiety. And I do have my own set of strategies and skills that I use on the regular, so that I can stay, for the most part, within my baseline of tolerable stress. A couple of strategies that I like to use are, what would I tell my best friend if they were in the same situation? So when I'm starting to go down the rabbit hole of like, this is going to be awful, this is the worst thing ever, how could this have happened? I can hear myself and think, okay, like I got to pull over. If my best friend Sydney was in the same situation, what would I tell her? And having that dialogue helps me separate fact from fiction, that I can kind of see myself being like, this isn't productive. This is not exactly the wise-minded decision that I need to make. Like, what would be in my best interest? And that usually helps me kind of hold the emotion, but be able to take a step back and say, okay, what are my options here? So when in doubt, what would I tell my best friend? Usually works, at least to get me to stop, put the brakes on, going hardcore on the stress. The other thing that's been really helpful for me has been these 5-minute brain breaks during my day. So I tend to jam pack my schedule because there's a lot that I want to do, including spending time with my daughter. She's 3. For me, that's a fun age. So I want to be done with work before I go get her at the end of the day. But I also want to, being with her is lovely and it's draining. So it doesn't really refuel my tank, so to speak. So these 5-minute breaks that I take during the day are really restorative in like seeing a patient and then taking a break, doing some writing, and then, getting up and doing some stretching. So these 5-minute breaks are like, I'll just stand up because I sit all day and look out the window. And a lot of people in this neighborhood happen to have dogs. So there's at least, somebody walking down the street with a dog, and I'll just notice that. I'll go downstairs to the kitchen and get some water. I'll throw some ice in it or a slice of lemon to give it a little pizzazz. I'll walk the perimeter of my office if I just don't have the time to like stretch my legs more. So it is these small things that really are quite restorative. And so by the end of the day and the end of the week, like I'm feeling pretty good. And then when I have more time, like I will get fresh air. That's important to me, to kind of move my legs one way or another. So I definitely experience stress. It is certainly happening now. We just moved. My daughter started a new school. I'm working on some new products. We're getting settled. There's a bunch of moving parts, and I have definitely felt stress recently, especially in my body. Kind of heart racing and things like that. So knowing that I'm feeling that, it's really making sure that I ask myself every day, how do I want to take care of myself? And then based on that, I plan my day. So like I said earlier, how I want to take care of myself today is after my conversation with you, I'm going to head outside and go for a small little stroll. So things like that I think can be helpful, and that took me some time to figure out, but hopefully your listeners might find that helpful or can kind of tweak it to fit their style.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the 5-minute thing sounded really good. It's like, that's good, I could do that. I think we're quite similarly wired in the sense that I always like to do something. Like, I don't get bored. If something falls through and gets rescheduled, I've got loads of other things. Oh, great, I can start one of those. And I've found that sometimes I'm creative when I'm in the middle of something, but a lot of the time I literally just walk away from my desk. I go outside, walk in the garden, do a few laps of the garden, exactly the same kind of as yourself, really. And that's a lot of the time, that's where I get inspired, because I've suddenly changed environment, suddenly sort of exposed to different things, and it stirs your mind and gets you thinking off of maybe the track of what you were focused on to just something a little bit different, and it opens you up, doesn't it? So yeah, I like that. Yeah, highly recommend that myself as well. That's really good. One of the things I was curious to ask you really is, we will talk about the course after this question, but just for people that are, like, I'm guessing because you've been in this realm for so long, you're wired to notice potentially the symptoms in yourself more when you start to get to an unhealthy level of stress. For people, before it gets to, I can't sleep at night, I don't want to eat, I'm irritable all the time, those sort of, which I guess is the far end of, yeah, things are out of balance. How can, for people that are maybe heading that way but are not at the end of the cliff, or close to it, anything that can help us become more conscious? Because I think the more aware we are of how we're feeling, it's quicker, it's an easier time to catch stuff in the bud, isn't it, to stop it escalating further. I guess it's different for everyone because we are wired slightly differently, but is there an easy strategy, or how would you help people not get way up the scale?
Right. How do you prevent burnout?
Yes, that was a very succinct way of my long question. So
no, yeah, it's burnout, it's significant. It happens really quick. As you get better at it, you can kind of sense like, oh, I'm heading to burnout. But most often it's like, you're there. So usually where I start with people who are aware that they're stressed, but they're not quite, crispy, as I say, or kind of burned out, is tracking their mood every day. So that can be as simple as you put it in your phone. I know a bunch of people love spreadsheets. You can put it in a spreadsheet, back of a receipt, not picky how you get the data. But if you're interested in knowing not only what's stressing you out, but how you're feeling it, it's good to get some data. So once a day, you can do it 3 times a day. Just check in with yourself. How am I feeling? Am I feeling tired? How am I feeling? Where am I feeling that in my body? If you're feeling stressed, how can you tell? Is it thought-based? Is it body-based? Sometimes people will say, like, there is no stressful thought happening, Angela, but my body is going off the chart. Feeling sick, like they have the flu or their loss of appetite, but literally no thought that is causing them to kind of think negative thoughts. So everybody is different. So it is worth getting that data. And then once you have an idea of about a week or so of what might be happening for you, you get to see, how is your mood? What is your most dominant emotion that you're experiencing? And if it's stress, then you have some indicators of, based on your recordings, like what stressed you out? Where did you feel it in your body? And then that can give you at least a map of, what do you want to do about it? Is there a schedule change that you can do? Do you need more self-care stuff? Do you need to delegate more? I know a lot of people have problems delegating and asking for help. So it just gives you some data that might, and usually it's data where you weren't aware of it in the first place, which is why tracking our mood can be helpful. Some people are like, I didn't realize that I was as stressed as I was. I thought I was tired. But my dominant emotion is stress, or my dominant emotion is irritability, and I hate everybody, but that's usually not me. So what's happening? So the data can be surprising, and it gives you kind of a gameplay for what you want to do next.
I like that. Yeah. Usually at the end of the day, I'll spend a few moments reflecting on the day, just over certain sort of key elements that I think are important. I haven't measured or counted in the stress factor, so I'm going to add that, just to keep a sort of self-analysis going. I think that's really useful. And I guess if you're working with other people, or you're married, you're in a family, there's other people that could potentially, if you're open and not snappy all the time, they will point out, actually, 99% of the time you're unapproachable, or whatever. Yeah, it's good to get outside input as well, isn't it? But the key thing is, even if we get outside input, if we're not open to it, unless we're looking inside and just checking where we are, we'll just shrug it off and, yeah, I'm working on the business, need to do this, this, and this. The danger, if we do ignore it, is that if we're irritable to those we love, eventually it's going to come out to clients, to suppliers, to your team, whoever you've got around you. So you have to deal with it sooner rather than later, really, don't you? Otherwise you have to pick up bigger pieces, or lots more smaller pieces, if you don't deal with it. So that's
I mean, stress and irritability, the higher you climb, it's just inevitable. At some point we're going to feel, whether it's we become more passive aggressive, or because that's another way to kind of push people away, but relationships can suffer. So having that data will just give you more of an opportunity to think about how you want to be better and feel better, knowing that you might not be able to change the stress that's on your plate, but how you think about it, how you talk to yourself about it, how you take care of yourself, can all make it like so much better. And that if you have a family, or people around you, whether you're mentoring people or employees, you get to mentor and model for them that this is how you can manage stress in a healthy way. That it's still stressful, but it doesn't have to be, people, you suffer and everybody else does too.
Yeah, because we do need a certain level of stress, don't we? I guess, is there good stress, bad stress, or just it becomes bad when there's too much of it, or we're not handling it well?
There is good stress, for sure. And I think that's kind of going back to the beginning of why we're in this business, is a large number of entrepreneurs thrive in a decent amount of stress. So meeting deadlines, having lots of meetings, projects coming in and out, a lot of creativity. There's stress in that, of trying to get out a product, trying to kind of market, get the right message out. And we can thrive in that, right? It's exciting. We can think clearly. We're thinking fast. Thoughts are coming really quickly, and we're delegating with ease. Like, all of that is a sense of pressure and stress, but it makes us feel good. And that's also another kind of data point for people, is like, when do you experience stress and you thrive? And having those examples. And then the bad stress is all the other gunk that we kind of get stuck in, which is like the appetite goes, sleep deprivation, negative thinking, difficulty concentrating, all of that kind of, the irritability is all the unhelpful stuff. So there definitely is a difference between good and bad stress, and good stress definitely exists.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's good. So without further ado, I said after that last question we'd talk about the course, and then I got distracted. Sorry. So the course, unpack a little bit about what's involved, who would it benefit most? I think to some extent everyone, but I know you've tailored it specifically to address certain issues. So it's the Worried to Well Balanced program, isn't it?
Yes. So it's Worried to Well Balanced, and it's 7 modules. It's pretty intense. But the good news is that you can go at your own pace. So some people have used the course where they have noticed in certain modules that they want to use. So there's a module on managing relationship stress, work-life balance, how do you get better sleep, managing negative thoughts, right? And like, those 4 sound right up my alley. And then they take that part of the course and they like incorporate those skills into their life. And then maybe 6 months later, there's something where they want to practice mindfulness strategies, or they're in need of more self-care, but they're not quite sure what they need. There's a module, 2 modules in the course for that. So once you have the course, you'll always have it. And it's everything. I wanted to write a really in-depth course because I wanted to give people what I do in my practice. So if you can't come see me, if you could come see me, what would I teach you? And this is everything. So I wanted to make sure that no matter where you are in your life, no matter where you are in the world, if you are looking for stress management and want skills that are based on research, science, and are proven gold standard therapy modalities, I want to give that to you and make it easy for you to access and make it fun. That doing this work can be stressful, to add to stress, it's like, oh, I gotta spend an hour with Angela talking about all this stuff. I don't really want to do that, or, I don't have the time. It's like, okay, well, how do I make this learning fun? And a lot of, I think, what I try to do is making skills creative, knowing that what works for me might not work for you, but that's the fun of it, that you get to really tailor make your own toolbox. So that's why I wrote the course. I wanted it to be for anyone interested in learning stress management. And what I found is that people who were really gravitating to it were people in high stress jobs. That I think it really calls to this kind of community, because when you're constantly in stress and you're moving really fast, it's hard to know how to take care of yourself. And it gets slippery pretty quickly. You kind of get on a track and you're like, you're doing something, you're being skillful, and then all of a sudden, you hit a bump and everything goes away, and you're heading towards burnout. So this course can really help you find your rhythm. And the beauty is that once you know the skills, you will always have them, right? Because you can't unlearn what you already know. So once you know about mindfulness, once you know how to combat your negative thoughts, like, you will always have those tools. And you don't have to see me to learn them. So that was the goal.
It's a great idea. And yeah, certainly a good investment for everybody that wants to overcome and sort of learn how to manage the good and the not so good elements of being a business owner, running a business or multiple businesses. And the app, is that just a mobile way of accessing the course?
Yeah, it's a little bit separate. So the app is not as in depth as the course, but the idea is that wherever you are, you can have access to skills and strategies. So if you are in a place where you're feeling really angry and you're not sure what to do, and you're stuck and you're looking for something, you click on the app and you hit your emotion, and up pops, several strategies you can try in the moment. Same thing with sadness or stress or anxiety. So it's trying to find ways where people can have easy access to strategies at their fingertips. Some people have found that the course has printables. So I've had a bunch of people that have printed out the list of skills in there, the worksheets that I have, and they'll put them on their whiteboard as just a way of staying mindful of, like, this is the strategies that help me. People will highlight them. So it's whatever works for you. And certainly the app can kind of be that added buffer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when we're taking our 5 minutes of refocusing and checking, just hit the app, get something that's positive that's going to shift your focus back to dealing with the stress that you're in. So no, that's really good. But there'll be a link for people to follow through to your website. But just, is the website one of the best places to touch base with you?
Yeah, so if anybody wants to reach out to me, best place is my website, which is progresswellness.com. And if you want to learn more about the course, it's worriedtowellbalanced.com.
Okay, and you can bounce to that from your site, I guess.
Yes.
No, that's good. You're also on Instagram, aren't you? Because I looked at some of your Instagram posts, and just a quick dose of inspiration. Just go on Angela's Instagram to start with. Yeah, I think that's really good as well. So how will they find you on Instagram?
At Progress Wellness, and thank you, Trevor, for that. And I try to do as much as I can on there. Usually it's more stories of me talking about different skills and strategies rather than the old-fashioned kind of static posts. But usually I try to give at least a couple of tips a week and strategies. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, I caught one the other day where it was some suggested responses to help people say no when they need to say no. And I thought that was good. I was putting together something for a webinar just on that. And I thought, that's exactly it. So yeah, we borrowed some
Great
content on that. So that was good. But it's really good. Just a very quick hit. If you've only got a minute or so, just jump on, get a bit of inspiration from the post. No, that's really good. Our time together today, alas, is coming to an end. But for everything that you shared, for people that are listening, you've made some notes, hopefully. Catch the recording again, listen to it over and over, because this is packed with lots of practical stuff that can help, not just now, but in 2-3 weeks, 6 months from now. If you're getting stressed, just think, that Angela lady, she was really good. I need to go and look up that podcast again. Hopefully by then you'll have signed up to the course, or you found benefit in the materials that Angela's got on the website as well. But just, it's practical stuff, and it helps us with everyday life. And if we don't get everyday life right, we miss out on lots of opportunities. We're not so good to be around for our family, and that's just counterproductive as well. So yeah, for everybody listening, I would definitely urge you to explore what Angela's got available on her site. See if the course resonates with you, go for that. Maybe just take the first step and explore and find out a bit more information first. But thank you for joining us. There is, and this is a bit maybe a scoop, I don't know, but there's in the early stages of you writing a book, isn't there?
There is. I'm in the early stages of putting it together. We talk about slivers, not chunks. When I think about the chunk of this book, I'm like, how is this ever going to happen? And then I don't want to do any of it, but that's why you got to sliver it out. And each week I have my little homework that I do that will hopefully produce a book. And the goal is sooner rather than later. So hopefully I can come back sooner rather than later and tell you all about it.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're always welcome to come back to the show. But thank you for what you shared today. Let's wrap it up there, because I know you want to get your walk in as well before you start your next activity as well. And you've given us so much to think about and put into practice already. So thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Look forward to when you do come back. But yeah, no, it's been brilliant.
Thank you, Trevor. This was so much fun. And I definitely enjoyed our talk, and I would be happy to come back.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you. So for everybody listening, don't just let this be another podcast you skim through and then try and find something else. Actually grab 1 or 2 things right now that you've heard and think, I need to put this into practice. I need to start putting this into practice. Maybe tell a friend, tell a family member, hey, I've just listened to this really good podcast. Help me put some of this into practice. And by the way, this could help you as well. Something like that. You'll find a way that works, but yeah, definitely take action. We believe that you can manage stress well, but we have to be intentional. We have to be proactive. And this, what we've shared today, is more than going to help you if you put it into practice. So without further ado, thank you for joining us today. We will catch you next time.